What is up, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and of course, as we all know, the New England Patriots will be heading into next season without star quarterback Tom Brady. We already made a video covering the entire situation with TB12 and him not being a Patriot, so if you haven't checked that video out, make sure you go check it out here at Patriots Global. Just a disclaimer, I know this video is probably going to be too soon for a lot of Patriots fans. A lot of people kind of want to take a while before jumping into the subject, so if this video is too soon, by all means, take your time with watching it, but nonetheless, business moves on, and of course, so do we. Of course, the Patriots weren't really expecting this to happen. When Bill Belichick was informed of the move by Tom Brady, he was shocked. Kraft was shocked. I think even us fans that knew Brady was not likely to come back were still pretty shocked. Of course, the guy that a lot of people expected to take over for Tom Brady one day is now the quarterback for the 49ers in Jimmy Garoppolo. So let's just dive in right to this video. The first option that the Patriots could do to replace Tom Brady is to take the guy that was backing him up last season in Jarrett Stidham. Of course, Bill Belichick stole Jarrett Stidham in the 4th round of last year's draft. A lot of people did not think that Jarrett Stidham was going to be as high or successful as he was this past season, or off-season, I should say. The thing about Jarrett Stidham, and I think the thing that really threw a lot of people off, is the fact that he wasn't selected in the 1st round. For some reason, there's a lot of speculation that the only quarterbacks that are able to succeed in life are the ones that are selected in the 1st round, which is far from true. Tom Brady was not a 1st-round pick. Russell Wilson, not a 1st-round pick. In fact, I believe Russell Wilson was also a 4th-round pick. And here's the thing. The reason that Jarrett Stidham was selected in the 4th round, the reason he's a 4th-round prospect is the lone fact that he had a pretty down season this season prior to the NFL draft. The year before that, Jarrett Stidham was balling out in college. At that time, he was expected to be a 1st-round draft pick in the draft, but of course, because the following year, he had a down year in college, and that was really because of the weapons he had and the weapons that he was throwing to, and the offensive line that he was performing with was so bad, ultimately dropped his status, and the New England Patriots got him for a later round pick on day 2. And I think right now with the current situation, this is going to be one of the best scenarios. Now, the New England Patriots are going to make a plethora of different moves at the quarterback position, so we're going to have to revisit this again at some point, but Jarrett Stidham is definitely in the running to take over for the Patriots. He got a whole year to learn under Tom Brady. I know a lot of us wanted a quarterback to learn a couple years under Tom Brady, but one, of course, is better than none. And here's the thing, too, about Jarrett Stidham. He got a whole year to watch Tom Brady, to sit back and just watch him in the regular season. Time to learn the Patriots playbook, learn the Patriots system, and work out, which he 100% has been doing. In fact, as Tom Brady's backup, Jarrett Stidham got to throw a total of 4 passes. Of course, as we all know, that was against the Jets. One of those passes was a pick 6 to Jamal Adams. And I can firmly say that what we saw from Jarrett Stidham from right when he was drafted, from OTAs to the end of offseason programs, was tremendous. It was incredible the amount of development that we saw within just a few short months. Look, truth be told, Jarrett Stidham's 23. He's a young guy still. He has a lot more time in the NFL. The Patriots have him signed for 3 more years under a low-budget contract. A lot of people were worried about his arm talent, being able to make NFL throws. And what we saw from a 4th-round quarterback in his rookie season, we saw a guy with tremendous arm talent. We saw a guy that can make every NFL throw. In fact, Jim Nagy, who is the director of the Senior Bowl All-Star Game where Stidham performed last year, said that Bill Belichick straight up stole Jarrett Stidham from the draft. He even went as far as to say that he is talented enough to become Tom Brady's successor. Jarrett Stidham will definitely be an intriguing prospect heading into the process in finding who's going to be the next quarterback for the Patriots. Now moving on, Andy Dalton could be a next option here for the New England Patriots. A lot of you do not like that, but in reality, none of us can do anything about it. It's Bill Belichick. Bill's going to do whatever he feels is best for the team. Me personally, I wouldn't be surprised to see this year be a year where we see multiple different quarterbacks coming in and out through New England via trade, via draft, via free agent signings, just for Bill Belichick to see which guy he feels more comfortable with bringing onto the team next year. Now, Andy Dalton is a 9-year starter who is expected to move on from the Cincinnati Bengals because the Bengals are expected to draft Joe Burrow first overall in this year's draft. Now, the Bengals could either cut or trade Andy Dalton, who's under contract for one more year for $17.5 million with zero guaranteed money. There have been some other teams that were related back to Andy Dalton. The Chicago Bears were one of them who were looking to make the trade. Of course, they have already made some quarterback moves, so that could be a question mark now on if they're actually going to do it or not. I think that the New England Patriots would have a lot more competition if Andy Dalton was just released rather than just traded, because there's not going to be much teams willing to take on that $17.5 million. But if he was released, there would be a lot of teams that would love to have him at least as a backup quarterback. Now, as for a career completion rate, he has 62%. He has thrown 204 total touchdowns with 118 interceptions. It definitely would not be a flashy signing, okay? It wouldn't be a signing when we're all like, ooh, okay, Andy Dalton to the Patriots. We could still make the playoffs. We could still get to the Super Bowl. It wouldn't be that type of flashy signing, but he could potentially be a good fit for the Patriots. He's an experienced quarterback, which I'm sure Bill Belichick is definitely going to be looking for to replace Tom Brady. And if things don't go his way, then just get rid of Dalton. Next up is going to be the Colts quarterback in Jacoby Brissette, or should I say their backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissette. Now, of course, the Colts did land Phillip Rivers today, the former quarterback of the Chargers, who will be their starting quarterback now. That leaves a lot of questions up here for Jacoby Brissette, who they gave an extension to just, I believe, last offseason. Of course, let's also remember that they have another former Patriot under contract in Brian Hoyer, who was the backup quarterback to Jacoby Brissette last season. Jacoby Brissette is, of course, very familiar with the Patriots. The Patriots drafted him. He spent really just a year with them before he ended up being traded in 2016 for an exchange of wide receiver Phillip Dorsett. In the end, the Colts got a starting quarterback, or really a backup quarterback that became a starting quarterback because of the issues they were having with Andrew Luck, and the Patriots got a receiver in which they needed help with after news dropped that Julian Edelman was going to be out for the entire season. Now that the Patriots are kind of high and dry at this place and they don't really have an answer for Tom Brady and replacing him and who's going to be their starting quarterback for next season, they could really look to add a guy who knows the system, who knows the Patriots, who has experience with the other players and the system, knows the playbook and everything. And Jacoby Brissette really could be that guy. He flourished a good amount from what we've seen with him. He did great in the preseason. We only got to see him in really 2.5 games for the Patriots during Tom Brady's Deflategate suspension because of Jimmy Garoppolo getting injured. Not only does he have knowledge of Josh McDaniels' system, but Josh McDaniels has experience with Jacoby Brissette, so it wouldn't be like they're totally 100% scratching everything and starting new. Jacoby Brissette definitely had some ups and downs in trying to replace Andrew Luck, who again ended up retiring, had some injury issues before. In 2017 with the Colts, he appeared in all 16 games in which he threw 469 pass attempts for 276 completions, for a total of 3,098 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Now, the year after is when Andrew Luck did come back. We saw Jacoby Brissette play in 4 games in which he had 4 pass attempts with 2 completions for a total of 2 yards and didn't have any interceptions or touchdowns. In 2019, which was this past season when Andrew Luck decided to retire, we saw Jacoby Brissette step back into that starting role. He played in 15 games through 447 pass attempts for 272 yards, had a completion percentage of 60%, which was actually his best since 2016 when he appeared in 3 games with the Patriots and had a 61% completion rate. He finished with a career high of 18 interceptions and just 6 interceptions on the season. I don't think that the Colts had great weapons. Okay, they definitely had some good ones there, 100%. T.Y. Hilton, Eric Ebron, Jack Doyle. There were definitely some options there, especially compared to what the Patriots have right now. But I think that they could really vamp it up. I could see him succeeding a little bit more with the Patriots, but still there are some question marks there for Jacoby Brissette, and can he actually use his arm rather than just his feet? Now, next up is one that I'm not super high on. I know some people are, but that's Cam Newton. Of course, the Carolina Panthers went out and they signed Teddy Bridgewater to a long-term deal, ultimately meaning that Cam Newton's going to be looking for a new home. Talent is definitely there with Cam Newton. He has Super Bowl experience, of course, with Super Bowl 50. He has arm talent. He 100% has the talent to be a mobile quarterback, as I'm sure we all know. The big issue for him and the big issue that the Carolina Panthers are moving on from him is going to be health. And that's the reason that I'm saying move on from him. In the last 3 years, Newton has had 2 shoulder surgeries and another this past December on his foot that ended his 2019 season. He's 30 years old, and there's already a risk for him, especially if you're looking to trade. Honestly, I wouldn't be willing to give up much for Cam Newton. Maybe a 6th or 7th rounder. We don't really have too much to work with there. And chances are he's not going to be a guy that is able to stay healthy, and he's not the guy that we saw way back when in Super Bowl 50. If he was that same guy, he'd have a huge market, and I would love to have him here. But in the end, we're looking to still be contenders still. It's the New England Patriots we're talking about here, and I think Cam Newton wouldn't really be a starter for the Patriots because of his health. Now, moving on, next is Nick Foles. Now, Nick Foles, of course, we have a lot of experience with him. Lost Super Bowl 52 to him when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. And boy, when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, he was a quarterback to talk about. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles wanted to keep him. They wanted to spend money on him as if he was their starting quarterback. Ultimately, though, he signed a big contract there with the Jags. He ended up getting injured, and things did not work out the way that the Jags were hoping. Gardner Minshew really is the guy that took over for him. And let me tell you, Minshew magic really took over for the Jags. They love what they saw, and they'll be looking to make him their starting quarterback, which means they're going to be looking to try to move on from Nick Foles, or at least have Nick Foles compete for his job in 2020. There's already been some rumors going around, and you would know this if you go ahead and follow my Twitter. There'll be that in the link in the description if you guys would like to go check that out. But that the New England Patriots would be looking to ship off a couple of draft picks to the Jags in exchange for Nick Foles. Of course, Nick Foles has experience with the Super Bowl, the playoffs. He's been with a few different teams now in his career. He's been to the Pro Bowl. And he would fit the script that the New England Patriots like in their quarterbacks more than a lot of the guys we've already talked about because he's a pocket passer. He can do some stuff with his feet, but mostly does it with his arms. So definitely, Nick Foles is going to be a guy that you're looking to watch for going forward. Now, to me, the last option, and one that I'm sure a lot of people want and is guaranteed to happen, just depends on where, is drafting a quarterback. Now, the New England Patriots currently sit at the 23rd overall pick in this year's draft, meaning that they're unlikely to get a top quarterback. Okay? Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Tua. These are all guys that are expected to likely leave before the 23rd overall pick. Now, of course, the big thing here is that you never know, okay? I don't think anyone would have predicted that N'Keal Harry would have been there by the 32nd pick last year. He was considered the best wide receiver in all of the draft, and yet the Patriots still got him. And if the Patriots hadn't drafted him, he would have gotten selected in the second round. There's definitely some good quarterbacks in this year's draft. Some that the Patriots could select later in the rounds, rounds 5 to 7. There's some guys that they could select from 2nd to 4th. And of course, some quality quarterbacks they could take even in the 1st. Jacob Eason is a guy that they could select. Jalen Hurts is a guy that they could select. The guy that I am biggest on and I would love to come to the New England Patriots would be Justin Herbert, but that could be a really, really big push. Some have him as the 2nd to 3rd best quarterback on the market, but in the end, right now, it's all speculation. Literally, we could have Tua by 23 for all we know. Ultimately, it just depends on what teams select what because that throws all other teams off with one shocking move. But here is an interesting fact. That in 25 drafts, both with the Browns and Patriots, Bill Belichick has never drafted a quarterback within the top 60 pick. Jimmy Garoppolo was taken with 62, and that was the highest that Bill Belichick has ever taken a quarterback. However, though, Bill Belichick has also never had to replace Tom Brady before. A lot of question marks going forward, but these are some guys to really watch going forward. I guarantee you the Patriots are going to be selecting a quarterback in this year's draft. It's all just kind of going to depend on in which round. What are your guys' thoughts on these options going forward to try to replace Tom Brady? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section below. Like this video if it did help you and you found it helpful. Subscribe to the channel for all your New England Patriots content, but I'll catch you guys in my next video.